Hi, friends.
Hey, friends.
We're back for episode 39 of the Brunch and Judge.
Woo!
We're your hosts. I'm April.
And I'm Claire.
And this week, we're going to tell you about medical practices that used to be acceptable, but will probably kill you.
Right.
But first, and more importantly, Claire, what are you judging this week?
So I'm going to judge somebody who came through the Ghostwalk. Okay. For those of you who don't know, you're just now joining us. I'm the president of the board for the local community theater here. And long story short, we got kicked out of our home several years ago. The college kind of took us in.
Hmm.
We were grateful for that, but it's not ideal
Hmm.
because you have to run everything by 85 people just to do a show, get your schedules worked out because they do have classes in this. It's a science auditorium, so
Right.
it's not even actually like a theater.
Right.
And the seats haven't been updated since the 70s. Like they're green and yellow and brown and orange and they're gross.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Retro vibes, but not in the cool way.
Yeah. And so we have been trying, COVID knocked us down, trying to raise money. We need it's a big sum, like over $1 million
Hmm.
to build our own theater. The city is going to give us some land once we get the money, but so that we don't have to pay for the land, we just have to pay for the building.
Hmm.
But so everything we do is trying to get money to go towards that. So we every year, and before we got kicked out, we've been doing the Ghost Walk, and that's always been a big fundraiser for us. It's downtown E-Town, tell ghost stories, different spots around town, supposedly, allegedly true, whatever.
Sure, sure, sure.
you know. Although I will say the one at the Masonic Lodge, part of that story, I was there when something actually happened. One of the girls who was with us kind of got possessed, and I was there for that. So that part is true. that part's true.
I feel like you should advertise that and be like, go on a ghost walk, get possessed. It'll be
It's
fun.
fine. Yeah, because we did a ghost tour at the Masonic Lodge, and one of the girls who went with us, her name's Emily. She something happened. She had a moment. It was like something's not right. We were all there for that, and it just as fast as it came on, it went away, and it was so
Huh.
bizarre. So if you're there and you listen to the Masonic Lodge story, that part's true. But we do it every year. It's always a big hit. Weather obviously plays a big part. But this year the weather was stinking perfect. I mean, it was
Ah,
nice. It wasn't cold. Like I didn't even because usually I'll have to sit there with like blankets
right.
and my nose is running because I'm just cold. And I barely had to wear a jacket. I mean, it was super nice. No rain. We had over 400 people the whole weekend. And a lot of these people, they're not theater people. They don't even, and we do get the patrons that I recognize, that kind of thing.
Right.
But a lot of
Hmm.
these people are not theater
They're
people.
just there for
They
the
don't even know
ghosties.
who.
Yeah.
Yeah, they come up and they're like, "Who is this? What are y'all doing?"
Oh,
Because it's
yes.
just down.
Yeah.
It's downtown. It's something fun to
And
do.
that's
That
like
kind of thing.
the ghost tour we did a couple weeks ago. People just kind of joined on the journey. They're like, what's
Right, right.
happening? Oh, it's a ghost
Yeah,
tour.
and
Oh,
we charge $5. It's like
yeah.
literally one of the only fundraisers. It costs us like $0
Hmm.
to produce. We have the stories. I get the people. They just do their own costumes, that kind of thing. It's super
Yeah.
low key. So it's like everywhere on all the things. There was a sign out on
Hmm.
all the socials that it's $5 cash only.
Right.
And this one woman comes up and she was like, "Yeah, we got five of us that want to go on this ghost thing." And so I was like, "Okay." And then she was like, "Oh, is it just donations?" And she's getting ready to put like a $5 bill
Right.
in it. Kristen gave me this McDonald's, one of the McDonald's buckets, the
Oh,
ghost
right,
one,
right, right.
that I was putting tickets in
Oh,
just to like hold the tickets that so we could go back and count, double check at the end, make sure tickets match the money, that kind
right.
of thing. And I was like, "No, it's $5 a person." And she went, "Oh." Like she scoffed slash heavy side at me, and then she like almost rolled her eyeballs
Oh
out of her
wow.
skull. And it was like, are you kidding me right now? Like she was being a Karen about it, and it
Yeah.
really got on my nerves because
Mm-hmm.
it's like, ma'am, there is a line of people behind you that know what this is and know how much it costs and they want to do it. So
Mm-hmm.
quit wasting my time. Like
Right.
that's really what I wanted to say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because it's just like, and I was like, and I look at her and I say to her, well, it goes to a nonprofit.
Mm-hmm.
We're a theater. We're trying to build a building. This is one of our fundraisers.
Mm-hmm.
And so then she like reluctantly paid me the $25 for her group of five
Right.
to go. And it was just like, are you kidding me right now? And I didn't even, I don't recognize her. I don't know who she is from a
Right.
hole in the ground. Like I said, a lot of these people who come on this, they're just looking for something fun to do on Halloween or around Halloween,
Yeah.
and it's family friendly. The kids
Mm-hmm.
can go. It's not like a scary thing. There's no jumping out. No, it's not a
Right.
haunted
Yeah. It's just
whatever.
it's a fun like some
Yeah.
spooky stories but it's you're fine.
Yeah. But
I
even then
I love ghost walks and ghost tours and all
oh,
that
I
stuff.
do
It's my
too.
favorites. I love them. Love them.
And I love the one that we went on in Williamsburg
Yes.
when I went on vacation with your family. Like I love doing stuff like that. It's so cool. Especially when they're like, go knock on the door and see if somebody knocks back, stuff like that. I'm like, yes, let's do
You're
it.
like, okay.
Yeah.
I feel like Claire, we need to have like a sub series of us going to supposedly haunted places and freaking each other out, where we just
Right.
like they're literally 10-minute videos of us going, what
And
was that?
screaming.
Screaming and running out the
And
door
then like
because, by the way, we're cowards, absolute chickens.
we are.
I mean,
You should have seen us at Waverly. That was
I
a
I
riot.
am the idiot who will go like investigate the source of a sound, but if I see a thing, do a thing that shouldn't physically be possible, I'm out. I'm
Right.
out.
Yep. True that. I
Oh,
feel that.
God,
But
but
yeah,
yeah,
that's
I
my
hate
judge is this
Karen.
woman who is just like
Oh,
not
God.
wanting to pay the $5 for a good
Mm-hmm.
cause. We're just trying to pay some bills and raise some money for a building. Sorry that inconveniences you.
Mm-hmm.
you
God.
know,
Nightmares.
I think it was just the scoff slash heavy sigh and then eye roll. Like nobody else. No, and a lot of people they will say, "Is it cash only?" Yeah, and they'll be like, "Oh, that's fine. I'll just go to an ATM and come back."
Right.
Not a big deal. Because I mean, we can technically take cards, but it is a pain
Yeah. It
to do it because you have to do it
and
not
say
on our
it
phones,
might be
and
like
it's
a I don't know if this is true or possible. Feel free to just ignore everything that comes out of my mouth at this point. But like you might could just like set up something like a Venmo for the theater in order for people to just kind of shoot money that way. I don't know. I don't know the logistics of nonprofits and Venmo. So,
I don't either. Maybe look into
but
that
it might be because then they
possibly.
could just like you could print off the little QR code to just like send $5 to me
Yeah,
here or whatever.
right. Yeah, because if it's Venmo, then you can do that, and it's not like
Mhm.
PayPal where they keep a percentage of it.
Right. Venmo is super
You know.
chill.
Yeah,
It's like here's
I
money
have
I
to
owe
look
you.
into that.
Yeah.
Well, which is funny because Venmo is run by
I
PayPal.
know it's complicated.
But
Five
anyway, yeah,
people
I'm gonna
run
look into
everything
that.
in the world, guys. I'm sorry.
I know it's terrible. This is why the world is
It
trash.
is absolute dumpster
Anyway,
fire.
yes. But
Excellent.
yeah, other than that one like crazy woman, the rest of it was fine. Like everybody had a good time, had people on Facebook commenting how great it was.
You know,
It's just
do you think like because there are lots of Karens in our day-to-day lives. Do you think the Karens are the ones that turn into like the shrieking banshee ghost or whatever? Like is that
mm,
their afterlife? Is that where they come
that's a
from?
good theory. That's a good
Because like
theory.
I can just
I
imagine
enjoy
her
that
like
theory.
being a ghost and being like, "Bah! I
I
want to
like
talk to
that
your
theory.
manager about your decor choices."
I know,
They keep
yes.
knocking that picture off the wall because they hate it.
Right.
It's there's nothing else to it. They're just like,
Interesting.
that's terrible colors. I can't believe you do that.
Right. I like that theory.
Thank you.
In fact, I'm gonna go with that theory. I don't care if it's true or not. I like that
Sometimes you
theory.
just gotta create your own truths.
That's right. That's my new truth. Karens turn into banshees. That's their afterlife.
Love it.
Oh gosh. Anyway, yeah, Ghostwalk. It was fun times.
Very
Had a lot of people
nice.
come through. Got some good money out of it. So yay!
Yay! Well, I'm glad it was successful overall.
Me too. I'm just. It is amazing though how the weather just plays. You can tell. You're
Yes.
like, this is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, I think it was like the second best like
Right.
turnout we've had
Oh,
since
nice.
we've been doing
Yeah.
it. So yeah, it was, and that only other one that did better than this one was when the city was doing Rocktoberfest
So
downtown.
there are just people being like, "Oh, what's this?" Yeah,
Yes,
that's nice.
yeah, because they were had bands playing, and this was there was some guy selling ice cream out of
Out of
what's it
his,
called, a hearse,
oh,
out of a
I was
hearse.
gonna be like out of like a a pedophile van or whatever.
No, no, no. No, he bought a hearse and it was called Fun Earls ice cream, so it kind of looked like funeral.
Lol.
Yes. And he had like a skeleton sitting in one of the seats of the hearse or whatever, but he was selling ice cream out of the back.
Hmm.
And he was parked like right next to where our booth was.
So it was
So
like
it's like they
Hitchhiker. It
get
was like,
ice
"Get your ice
they
cream. Come on a ghost walk.
ghost
Everybody's having a
walk.
good
Yeah.
time."
I know. There's music playing. It's all good.
Very nice.
But yeah. So that's my judge. It's just Karen's just don't complain because you have to pay to do something. Because it was like there were other people doing things, like the History Museum had, like, their Haunted History Museum, and I
Hmm.
think the Masonic Lodge had theirs. I don't know about the Masonic Lodge, but the History Museum stuff was free.
Oh, right.
But they also get money from the city.
Well, and
They also
a lot
they
of
don't have to, like, do
times,
fundraisers like we do.
well, a lot of, I mean, like library programs are almost always free because it's paid by taxpayer money, and
Yes.
it's
Yeah.
it's a murky land. Um, but like the art center in the Dalles where I work, we shared a program. Like we did one at the library and then one at the art center. They
Yeah.
were slightly different to appeal to different crowds, but the same
Mhm.
person. And so ours was free, theirs was free, but there's a suggested donation. So like they have a
Mm.
donation thing open. So yeah, whatever works. Whatever works. It's hard.
Right. Yeah. No, I get it. But anyway, that's my judge. That's the
Excellent.
only thing that I've had time to judge this week. I've been so busy. Anyway, what is your judge this week? Oh,
So I also had a crazy busy week this week. On Friday, I worked a 12 and a half hour day because my life sucks.
yeah.
Uh, but it was because we did an after hours, it's called Humans versus Zombies event. It's for
Mm.
teens only. So they would come in, library's closed. No one else is there except for the teens and a bunch of staff, really. And it's basically Nerf war.
Nice.
So they literally are running around the library, screaming, shooting
Shooting
darts at
each
each
other.
other. And the rules are pretty basic. If you get shot, you're out for 3 minutes or whatever. You have to go to the front desk and your time for the 3 minutes, blah, blah, blah.
So it's not like you like sit out
Right,
for the
right.
rest of the
No,
time.
no, no.
Oh, okay, gotcha, gotcha.
Although I thought we should play Hunger Game rules where there's only one left. But
Yes.
whatever. But
Nobody
so
wanted to do
it
that.
it was super fun because like there were all these alliances and then there's all these betrayals and then all the stuff's going
Nice.
on, and there were a couple of areas where it was Switzerland, so they can
Okay.
use, so like our makerspace, we couldn't close it off because then there's like dead ends and you're stuck. So
Okay.
makerspace was Switzerland. You can't run through it, you can't shoot people in there, you're kind of safe there, but otherwise, craziness. So
Anything else was game.
so I, for part of it, I stayed upstairs by the makerspace so that I could kind of make sure people weren't running through like crazy because they're teenagers. I mean, yeah.
Right, right, right.
Um, but so I stood like on like our mezzanine balcony and was looking out over and watching the teens, kill each other. And I found some things quite fascinating. So, uh, one, it was really fun to watch people think they're in an alliance and then they get shot in the back, and you're like, Lol. Yeah.
Betrayal.
And they're like, we're same team. Like, I'm not on your team anymore, which is hysterical. But the thing that really struck me is, so everybody cheated. Let's be real. You can't help it.
Oh, right,
So like
right.
there are all these times when someone's like, I shot you. He's like, no, you didn't. It's like, I did. I saw it bounce off you. Well, I didn't feel it. That kind of thing.
Oh,
And so
yeah.
everybody did that to different degrees. But
Mhm.
interestingly, the boys did it way more than the girls. The girls always followed the rules. And they'd be like, they'd get shot and they would almost always go and do the 3-minute timeout. And I watched boys get shot and be like, no. And like, I mostly didn't intervene because I don't care
Right.
at all. And the other thing that I noticed was that the girls primarily, like when they would catch up with their friends or whatever, would be like, oh, I finally got so and so. Like it was like a thing they were trying to
Yeah.
get, or I finally made it into the blah, 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 or whatever. Whereas the boys were constantly being like, I killed 21. I'm like, the fuck is. So, like, I brought it up to Spencer and talking about it, just like, it's so weird to me. Like, I feel like each generation gets better, but there's still this weird dichotomy between, I don't know that it's how we raise boys versus girls, or
Right.
if it's just the way that society communicates to boys and girls, but like it was such a distinct difference between the two,
Difference.
that the girls were such rule followers and like the boys were the ones that we had to yell at the most. We're like, you're not allowed to do that, that, or whatever,
Right.
because they're not allowed. Like one of the rules was you can't shoot someone. I mean, we all had safety glasses on, but you can't shoot
Right, right,
someone
right.
in the head. If you do a headshot,
Like,
then you're
intentionally,
both
yeah.
out. You're dead
Yeah.
too. So congratulations. I mean, it still happened by accident, which was not a huge big deal.
Right.
But like some of the times they were doing it on purpose, like, you're out. Bye. But I was just like, God damn it. Why is it that girls, and me included, feel the need to follow rules when boys sure don't? They didn't give a flying fuck. They were just like
Right.
they would
Right.
at first kind of, and specifically maybe they're just caught up in the game. I'm like, but the girls couldn't do that. They couldn't get caught up in the game. Like
Yeah.
there was one in particular who never once cheated while I watched. Like she, every single time she got hit, she would go and take her 3 minutes, and I was just like, it's ridiculous. So, just
Right.
my current hatred of the bullshit we're taught as children that makes us
Your
do all this crap.
observations
Yeah, and
of
again, like I didn't intervene unless they were running in my makerspace. At which point, I'm like, you're out, you're dead. Go stand at the desk.
Yeah. Go do your 3 minutes.
Like, I killed you.
Right.
So, but
That's interesting, though.
yeah,
I feel like, yeah, that's interesting that you were able to stand up there and watch that and observe that
yeah, and like I found it interesting but bothersome because I was
at
like,
the same time. Yeah.
well, and I was telling Spencer's like I feel like every generation, all of those things get better. Like, the differences in how we interact, or whatever, those learned behaviors, because we try and teach our kids better and make them better. And I have no little kids in my life anymore, and I never will. Thank you, surgery. Um, no little kids for me. But I just was like, this
Yeah.
is still a thing. And I mean, I know I do it. I'm a stupid rule follower and I don't want to be. Hate it.
Right.
But it's like,
Same.
feel like I have to. I don't know. I don't know. I just like, maybe I need to just cheat more and be like, you didn't hit me. I hit you. Nope, you didn't.
No,
Just
I
stop. Like,
didn't feel
nope,
it.
I didn't feel
I
it.
didn't feel it. Right.
But that's my
I feel
judge.
like that was always the thing too when we were in youth group, playing games like Capture the Flag. I hated playing that
I
game.
hated capture the flag. That
I
was
hated it so much because they always
because
cheated.
they always cheated and I always
Yep.
didn't. I always played by the rules. I'm also not athletic, so all those games were bad for me. And that
But
was one
yeah.
of the things that I super hated about youth group, is that those kinds of activities, I was just like, I'm not good at this. I'm not going to be picked. Um, they kind of just assign people on teams, but I was
Right.
always kind of not given anything to do because no one viewed me as useful in any way. It just felt bad.
I think youth groups need to do more trivia stuff.
But I just think youth groups need to do
Because
lots
I
of
feel like
different
ours,
types of
yes,
activities.
because I feel like ours always focused on physical
Yep.
things. You know, God, those ropes courses, and I hated those, and trust falls and
Hmm.
all that kind of crap, and capture the flag, softball, kickball, those kind of things. Like nothing was ever.
No.
So if somebody did not excel athletically, you were automatically just not part of the cool kids
Well,
either.
and like
In that.
it frustrated me because yeah, our youth choir or whatever did musicals and stuff, but like it wasn't youth group. They weren't doing lots of artistic things. And I was
Right.
like, why didn't
Yeah.
we have like paint night or,
Right.
crazy bad art night or like things that are just supposed to be fun that anyone can do and not require
Yeah.
athletic ability? Cause like, guys, I wish I was more athletic, but I'm not. It's not who I am. I don't enjoy doing those things.
Right.
And part of the reason I don't enjoy it is because people were mean to me about it. So why would I want to?
Right. You're like, why do I want to
Why
join
would
in
I
with
want to
these
join with a group of
mean
people that are
people?
mean? Ugh.
Right. Right. But yeah, it's like looking back, it was all based on athleticism. And it's just like, why can't you all just do like you said, something like that, or even like a trivia night,
Mm-hmm.
something fun like that, which I'm sure they cheat at too, but whatever.
Yes. Yes, they do. But anyway, so that's my judge.
Yes.
Boys
That's a
can
good
do
judge.
things girls can't.
And not because they physically can't, just because
Just something that is, I think, taught to us very young that we don't even realize, which is
it's
annoying.
like hardwired
Mm-hmm.
into your system.
So
Oh my gosh.
fuck that
Anyways,
shit.
that's a good judge though.
Thank you.
All
Which
right.
brings us to the topic du jour of,
Yes.
well, I don't even remember how it was phrased. Was it like antiquated medical things or
Formerly legit medical
formerly
practices, I
legit
think
medical
is how it
practices?
was on
That's
the
right.
wheel. Yeah.
I love
Yep.
that. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
And I
It's
believe
my
this
turn.
week Claire goes first. Claire, what
It is
have you
my
brought us?
I'm gonna be talking about lobotomies,
Nice. Oh, nice.
which now I'm like terrified. Like, oh God.
Yeah, they weren't
You know.
nice. They're not nice.
No, no, they're not. Um, I got my sources from healthline.com, Wikipedia, of course, BBC.com, and livescience.com.
Nice.
So, lobotomies are also known as I think it's leucotomy.
Mm-hmm.
It's a type of psychosurgery used to treat mental illness conditions like mood disorders, which I'm like, what the hell is that? Just mood disorder.
I think those
Like,
are
oh, you're in a
things
bad
like
mood.
I think like bipolar is a mood disorder.
Well, I was gonna say, but
Yeah.
it also listed bipolar
Ah,
specifically.
mm-hmm.
Um, schizophrenia,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of things. Things that made you a difficult person. Olden day people didn't like difficult people. um, let's see. And psychosurgeries involve removal or alteration of the brain.
Hmm.
So, lobotomies involve separating tissue in the prefrontal cortex in two ways. There is a frontal lobotomy, which to me would seem like it would be here, but it's not. It's you drill a hole on either side of the skull and cut through the brain tissue with an instrument resembling an ice pick,
Yeah, ice pick lobotomy.
which is it's called I'm thinking a leucotome, which is like where the leucotomy
Mm-hmm.
comes from, or the transorbital, which you insert the leucotome through the eye
Oh
socket,
God.
like right next to the eye, and drive it through the thin layer of skull
I need
bone
you to know.
with a mallet to
Ugh,
access the brain.
I'm not a
And then they
fan.
wiggle it around.
No,
It's like they
no,
like either side,
no.
they like and then they like
And then
wiggle it around. Yep. And I'm like,
I'm
that sounds like it's like scraping your brain out.
I'm not
Stop it.
here. I hate body horror. It's the thing that I'm just like, nope, 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 nope.
Right.
Not my thing. Blech.
Right.
Oh, okay.
So lobotomies cause most of the connections to and from the prefrontal cortex to be severed.
Hmm.
And I'm just like, I feel like when you sever things in the brain, that's not good for anybody involved. But a guy named Antonio, and I don't know if it's Egas, Egas,
However you
Moniz,
want to say it is correct.
Moniz, Moniz. He was a Portuguese neurologist, and he's the one who originated the procedure. And at the height of it, it wound up winning the height of lobotomies being performed, wound up winning the Nobel Prize for psychology and medicine
Maybe
in
maybe we just need to do
1949.
like weird things that people won the Nobel Prize for that we're all like, the fuck? Because that
Right.
would make the list, I think. Good God.
So, yeah, in 1949, he won the Nobel Prize for physiology, not psychology, physiology and medicine for originating the lobotomy. And it was him getting this award was controversial, which it
Good.
should be.
It should have been.
So he believed people suffering from obsessive behavior uh suffered from fixed circuits in the brain. So he thought that going in and like severing some of these fixed circuits would keep them from behaving certain ways. Which I'm not into brain stuff. I'm not into neuroscience, so
No?
all this is like no, not.
You're not secretly a neuroscientist, Claire?
No, not
Interesting.
at all.
Interesting. Huh. All this stuff.
And Wikipedia has got like the lobotomy page is like so ridiculously in depth with like all these doctors involved. And I'm
Oh
just like, oh my
wow.
God, this is so much. Like it was a lot. So I was just like, this is kind of ridiculous. It's like,
Wow.
good Lord. But so he decided that he would try severing connecting fibers of the neurons in activity to see if this would like affect people. And the first 20 patients that he lobotomized, he reported improvements. And after that, the operation just caught on like wildfire and was implemented mainly by American neurologist named Walter Freeman in 1936. And he was a huge fan of the procedure. In fact, they equated him as like an evangelist
Oh
for the
God.
procedure.
What a
Right, right.
what a thing.
I know. I'm like, ew. I don't know if it would be called that. That's no, no, no.
Mm.
But in the early 1940s, it began to be seen as like a miracle cure, and it became a mainstream part of psychiatry and used almost as a cure-all for a large range of mental illnesses.
Mhm.
You know, like I said, schizophrenia, depression, compulsive disorder, bipolar, all these things.
Mhm.
And it was widely used because the alternative was much worse. So you'd have people in straitjackets, padded cells, patients suffering from physical abuse, and they believed that a possible cure through lobotomization was preferred to lifetime incarceration in a mental institution
I
because
mean,
that's basically it was like either be lobotomized or you're going to spend your entire life.
well, but I feel like and maybe this is just cuz TV.
Right, right, right,
Like
right.
I watched what was it? Ratchet? The last year or 2 years
Yes,
ago,
uh-huh.
whatever.
I watched that too. Yep.
And like some of them just were useless. Like they just there's nothing left. Like it's not like they could function in society after. So is it
Right. Yes.
better? Like they
Right.
still gonna have to have
Yeah.
somebody to take care of them all the time.
Yeah, and in the UK, I want to get to that in a minute. Yeah.
Mhm.
In the UK, the most prolific lobotomist was a guy named Sir Wiley McKissock.
Sure.
And yeah, he was a neurosurgeon at Atkinson Morley Hospital in Wimbledon. And they believe he performed around 3,000
Good
lobotomies.
God.
I know,
Why?
right? And he would do them at his hospital. And then on the weekends, he would travel to smaller hospitals around the country and perform lobotomies on the weekend for these other hospitals. And a guy named Dr. John Pippard followed up with a lot of McKissock's patients, and he found that about a third benefited. A third of them there was no effect, and then a third of them were actually worse than what they were before. And he used to authorize them, but then he later turned against the practice.
Well, I guess that's
Because and then
good.
he had doubts, and he had doubts that they even ever like fixed schizophrenia. So soon after Dr. Moniz got the Nobel Prize at the height of the procedure's popularity, it began to decline due to lack of results and to the introduction of psychiatric drugs. So once we started getting drugs to help with mental illnesses, that's when
Mhm.
it really started to decline. But apparently during this time period, mental institutions were like overrun
Mhm.
with patients, and it was just one of these things where like at the time that it was discovered, there were no good ways to treat mental illness. It was just once you were declared mentally ill, it was like that was your death sentence almost. Just
Yeah.
go to the mental institution and die. But many long-term side effects of the lobotomy were mental dullness. Um, Patients lost their personalities and intellect. Immediately, you would have stuff like incontinence, confusion. A lot of them would have enormous appetite and would gain like a considerable amount of weight. Seizures, which I'm like, that
You literally
why would you
stuck
want to?
something in their brain. Of course they're having seizures. That feels
Right,
completely
right.
accurate, guys. What were you thinking?
Right, and that patients would need to be retrained how to do normal things after the procedure. Obviously some died after, some died by suicide
Mhm.
after because they were not who they used to be. Um, some suffered brain damage. I mean, there's a lot of bad things going on with lobotomies, and why was this ever a deal? That's what I
Mhm.
want to know. But most patients were able to leave with some improvement of symptoms, but with emotional and intellectual deficits. Like you
I
said,
was
they
gonna
were
say,
almost like
are they
zombies.
considering an improvement being that they no longer have feelings, so they're not depressed anymore? Like, is that literally, oh, well, they're fine now. And they're
Right.
like, well, I feel nothing. So, okay.
Yeah, I think that's what it is. It's because, like I said, they didn't especially in this. Okay, but anyway, the mortality rate was 5%
Mm-hmm.
in the 1940s. But most of the lobotomies, and I know we're all going to be surprised by this, were on women.
Oh, well, I mean, they're just so hysterical, Claire. They get all
Yeah,
like sad and moody
I
sometimes
know.
when, maybe bad things happen, maybe their husbands beat them or whatever. But like
Right,
that's
right.
that's not the right response. They're supposed to smile all the time and be goddamn happy.
Yes. But over 60% of the lobotomies were performed on
Of
women.
course.
And in one Ontario place, and I think it was in Ontario between like 1942 and sometime in the 50s, 74% of the lobotomies there were on women.
That is disgusting.
It is disgusting. And I know we'll also be surprised about this. Many of the lobotomies were performed without patient consent.
Oh, well, but Claire, they
Shock,
can't
surprise.
they can't give consent because they got committed there by their husbands who didn't want them anymore. They wanted a new younger model.
Right. And, after, like I said, once we started getting psychiatric drugs to help with things like bipolar disorder
Mm-hmm.
and depression and anxiety, that kind of stuff, the procedures kind of died off. And like some of the last procedures were in the 60s in the US. Some European countries went up to like the 80s,
Oh,
still
wow.
doing lobotomies. Yeah. So, But yeah, they're no longer a thing here.
Yay.
So, yay.
Yay.
But that's lobotomies used to be a legit medical practice, and it's like you see them in there was one thing that I read, I can't remember which website it was on that I got off of, but they talked about One Flew Over the Cuckoo's
Mhm.
Nest and how, usually, Hollywood sensationalizes things and makes it either bigger or smaller than what it was.
Right.
But one of the doctors said that it just hit when McMurphy was lobotomized at the end, that was just all too real.
Oh.
Like the way that it was not anything more bigger than real life, it seemed more like real life to him.
Wow.
That
Ooh.
it was like, this is how it is. And even like you said, Ratchet,
Mhm.
they just, yeah, it's like you become a zombie, some of it. And it really, and that's what,
Well,
I kind of joke about it. They don't like difficult people, but that's really what it
I
was.
mean, I just
Because a lot of those mental illness back then were not mental illness,
no.
like mental illness. Like you even think about people who have autism,
I was gonna say, in
that kind
the
of
one
thing.
that stuck sticks out to me, Lord, words are hard, from
Hmm.
Ratchet was the boy who was probably just like ADHD, who's just a little hyperactive. Like just he was too
Right.
noisy. They didn't want him to be so noisy. It's basically what they said, and then he just sat there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I can 100% see this shit because like most people shouldn't have children.
Right.
Just if no. Do you hate the children who scream? Do you hate the screams of death across the street in the park? Like I do? Don't have kids. I don't want kids. It's really not for me. I'm not into the screams and the loudness. Very
Right.
I don't like loud noises.
Yes.
Wow.
But a lot of it just seemed to me like mental institutions were, I mean, in some cases it seemed like worse than prison
Yes.
with the
Yes.
abuse and,
Well, I feel like anything I
neglect.
have heard about any place like that, like pre maybe 1970, I think it started getting slightly
Right.
better.
Right.
Maybe only slightly, have always been pretty horrific. But on the other hand, was it the 80s? Was it Reagan? Reagan did all sorts of shitty things. So it's probably Reagan. I swear he's the reason everything sucks. I blame Reagan for like 87% of the shittiness of today because Reagan was fucking awful. You heard it here.
Yeah.
Hate him. God. Anyway, I'm pretty sure it was him. I may be wrong, but that got rid of the mental health care that we had in America, like the having hospitals like that where people were
Right.
kept. I guess, I get it sort of against their will, but the reality is that there are people who need that consistent structure in order
Yes.
to, not harm themselves or others. Um, so he got rid of all of that. And I'm like, but we still need that. Now that we have better medicine and
Right.
drugs and better understanding of what works and what doesn't, it could probably
An
be incredibly
actual
fucking helpful.
therapy.
But
Right. Yeah. An actual therapist that
hmm
help people work through those problems with or without
well, and
drugs,
it's to me, it's one of those things. Yes, of all of the sciences and the body things, like that's the thing that we're still figuring out. Like there's a lot
Right.
to mental health that we don't get. We don't understand why certain drugs work for some people but not for others. We don't quite know exactly
Right.
how they work. And like I hope all of that improves a lot, but I'm like there's so many people who still need that
Right.
don't have anything. But whatever. Okay, sorry.
But it just
Random
kinda
aside.
killed me because when I was looking at this and reading it, a lot of the examples were about women, like,
Yes.
women after they've had children and they have, what we know now as postpartum
Mhm.
and or, there was one, it was so dumb. It was like her husband was getting, like, transferred somewhere with his job, somewhere to, like, the Congo or something, and she was becoming really depressed about having to leave
Mhm.
her home to go with him to this other country, and so he just sent her away to have a lobotomy because she was, like, becoming super
And
depressed.
it's like
Uh,
you're
yeah,
allowed to be sad about it and you're allowed to be
right.
depressed about it. That's a huge life change. Good God.
Yeah, and it, like I said, it's just seems to me like back in the day, they
Mhm.
didn't wanna deal with difficult people, And it was like they would have take like before and after photos, and they would just either be like, there was one lady who was schizophrenic and her face was just really contorted, and then before she was all just like, like it
Mhm.
was just this creepy, like that movie Smile that's come out. I've not seen it, but I've seen the previews, and it kind of reminded me of that. It was just
Oh,
like,
wow. It's like, ugh.
it's just like this fake, like kind of like smile, you know. But yeah, a lot, like I said, a lot of the examples were women.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there was one woman they talked about who wrote, I should have written it down, but she wrote something and she was getting ready to be lobotomized until whatever she wrote won an award. And then it was like, oh, well, you won an award, so we're not going to lobotomize you
Wow.
now. It was just like
Wow.
crazy. I know.
You know how like I don't know if I believe in past lives. I don't know. But if I had a past life, I'm sure in one of them I was burned at the stake, and I'm sure in another one I got lobotomized. I mean, it just feels like that's what would happen to me.
Right. Oh, absolutely. I feel like if I was how I am now,
Hmm.
like back then, I would definitely would have been lobotomized.
They'd be like,
And then
"You're being
like,
hysterical. Let's fix you."
right. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's true. But anyway, that's my story on lobotomy.
Amazing. And this feels like the perfect time to share with everyone the magical thing that I got today. It
Ooh.
felt very apropos to our story. I knew you were doing lobotomy, and this comes it's sort of related to what I'm doing, but today at the
Gotcha.
bakery, they had brains.
What is
A
that?
chocolate cake with I think it's
Oh,
marzipan,
okay.
like the almond stuff squiggled on top with some like
Gotcha.
raspberry
'Cause
coulis.
okay, half a second I was like, is that like spaghetti noodles? What is that?
Ooh, it's delicious. I had one last year. I guess we happened Halloween was on Sunday. We must have gone last year at the same time. And
Yeah.
so I got one. I was like, "Yeah, this shit's good." So we went today because they were doing a showing, so we had to leave. And
Yeah.
so I was like, "Well, you know." And I saw it, like, I have to have it. I have to have it. It's super good, and it's perfect for our story
Nice.
today.
I feel like brains.
Brain.
Oh, yes. Anyway, there you have it. Lobotomies. Thank God for modern
Oh
medicine.
God, right? And on that note,
Yes.
all right. So I have brought to you three smaller topics.
Okay.
And I like to, and I mentioned this earlier. I lovingly call this will probably kill you. All right. So I got all of my information also from Healthline. Good job, Healthline.
Yes.
Um, Smithsonian Magazine,
Mhm.
history.com, and of
Yes.
course, Wikipedia. Because where would we
Wikipedia.
be without Wikipedia?
I know. We need to pay them
I know.
money or something.
I promise Wikipedia. I'm gonna start like next year. I'm gonna start like, giving you some money for all the help. Because if nothing else, they give me some good places to look for information.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I'm going to talk about three different things. The first one
Okay.
was one that Spencer mentioned and felt very important. So I'm going to talk about bloodletting. Yay!
Ooh, yes.
So for a long time, quote unquote doctors
Yes. Mhm.
believed that sickness was caused from quote unquote bad blood. You get that bad
Mhm.
blood in you, and like it just makes you sick, and so you got to get it out. So
It's like Taylor Swift says,
that's
yeah.
right.
No, we got
Bad
bad
blood.
blood. Yep.
So it started with the ancient Sumerian and Egyptian civilizations, but
Oh, it's that
it is
old.
that old,
I
right?
don't think I realized it was
I
that
know,
old.
right?
Okay.
And every time I hear about ancient Sumerian civilizations, I immediately think demons, and I don't know why. There's apparently a Sumerian demon in some movie or book
That
that has stuck with me in a way that I can't undo. But there you go.
that has traumatized you.
Apparently. Uh, so it started there, but actually became popular during the classical Greek and Roman periods.
Okay.
So they believed that there were four humors, and that they were black
Humors?
bile, yellow bile, phlegm, and blood, which all sounds horrific and disgusting, by the way. I'm
Yeah.
like,
I'm like,
I don't.
that doesn't sound appetizing. No.
But in order to be healthy, you have to keep all four humors in balance. When they're imbalanced is when you're sick. So if you
Mhm.
have like a fever, say, a doctor
Yeah.
would simply cut open a vein and drain you of some blood. Get that bad blood out.
Why does it automatically have to be blood, though? Could it not be one of the others?
I mean, I
I mean,
suppose,
because
but
I feel like when I get sick, I also get really phlegmy.
well,
I'm
it's
just
the
saying.
imbalance of the bad blood, though. You get the bad. If you get rid of the bad blood, then it'll fix all the other things. I don't know. I don't know their thought process is clear.
You're like, I don't know.
um, Another thing that they would use, like if they weren't into, maybe you don't want your vein cut open. Fair, fair. They also would just like apply leeches sometimes,
Mm,
like on a smaller incision and just suck out the blood is the whole thing. So
that also seems unsanitary. I'm just
I
saying.
know. More disturbing. So this started way, 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 way back when, but it
Mm-hmm.
lasted until like the 1800s. It was super common practice until like,
I know, and that's what I think is like bizarre to me.
mhm.
Is like, why did they hang on to this for so long?
um, they they still believed that it was a cure for things like a sore throat or the plague. It's
The
like, oh, do
plague.
you have plague? Let me just bleed you a little.
Right. Yeah, look, no.
And I'm like, I'm
That's not how
coughing
this
up
works.
blood. I've got lesions on my neck. You're gonna take my okay, sure. But it was such like a common medical practice that barbers listed it as one of the services. So like you could get a shave, you could get a haircut, or you could be
And then
bleeded.
and they could slit your
Right.
throat.
I was like, I actually wrote on my
Like
notes,
Sweeney Todd
demon
up in
barber of
here.
Fleet Street, anyone? Like, I mean,
Right.
like
Right. It's
let me just
like
bleed you a little, you'll feel better. I mean,
right.
if you're
It's
dead, I
fine.
guess you feel better, because you can't feel anything anymore.
I mean, I guess.
But as we know, it did fall out of practice finally. Several people, of course, died because there's a lot of veins that you can cut that will kill you.
Mm-hmm.
So, oops.
Right. It's like, oh, we cut that big one that's gonna just bleed out. It's
It's like,
fine.
I cut the wrong vein. Oops.
Oops.
And of course, in most of these cases, like if people were like a little sick, like they have like a cold or a small minor virus and their body's fighting it off. If you get bled a little and you recover, they're like, oh yeah, see it worked. And you're like, yeah, 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 sure, sure, sure. But like
Yeah.
if you have the plague or you're really sick, that's making you worse. Like your body's trying
Right.
to replenish that while also fighting off like a really big bad disease. So like
Yep.
lots of people died. Cool.
You're
But
like,
it
great.
lasted until the
Thanks.
1800s.
Wow.
That's cool.
That's
That's
crazy.
cool. But fun fact, leeches are still used today for correct medical
Really?
reasons.
Oh,
So,
okay. I was like,
yeah. Well, I mean, I'm sure some people are using them stupid because that's the world we live in, but real doctors also use leeches to treat for specific issues. So leeches release an anticoagulant, which keeps
mm-hmm.
the blood from clotting. And
Yes.
so they'll use them to help revive like delicate veins, like after like a transplant or like a reattachment, like we cut off something and they'll
Okay.
use it to help get the blood flowing through and not clot up and kill the thing that they've just reattached. Or
Gotcha.
I've seen it used for like frostbite cases to help get the blood circulating back in
Blood flowing. Uh-huh.
those things. So like, okay, that's I'm not sure how I'd feel about laying in a hospital with a leech on me, but whatever. I'm sure
Right.
it's fine. What are you gonna do? So,
Right.
bloodletting. Just say no.
Yeah, I'm
Say
glad
no.
that's not a thing anymore.
Mm-mm. Okay, this is my favorite one.
Yes.
Corpse medicine.
What?
Corpse. So,
I don't like where this is going. I mean,
Claire, you got headaches or muscle
mm-hmm.
cramps, maybe some stomach ulcers, or really
Uh-huh.
anything wrong with you at all. You know what you need? You
What?
need some human flesh.
No, absolutely not. That is disgusting.
So, for
But
I don't know, maybe all of time, for all I know, um, people have used dead people to heal themselves.
That's gross.
Even way back in Roman gladiator time, they believed that the blood of
Ew.
fallen gladiators could cure epilepsy.
Why?
Well, because they were virile,
Why?
strong, exceptional men. But I was like, why are the fallen ones? Why are we not getting like blood from like the
Right?
ones who were like the winners?
You're like, but they died. So we don't, they're the weak ones. They're not.
Right. That was my thought. That was my thought. And Spencer was like, well, maybe the living gladiators are just have too much vitality in them, and it's just you got to get the the deadies.
No. No.
But even though that was one of the
So you talking about people like drinking the blood? Is that what we're talking about?
yes.
That's gross. But I just wanted to clarify. I just wanted like, are we talking about ingesting?
Well, yes, Claire. How else are you going to get that
Okay.
vitality?
I didn't know if they injected it. I didn't know.
But even though, like, ancient
So is this
or
where
whatever,
vampirism came from?
I mean, probably.
Just saying.
So it actually became more popular during the 16th and 17th century, which feels too close for comfort.
Really?
So,
Ew.
which comically, by the way, this is the time when like the Americas were newly discovered and they came across all sorts of indigenous peoples, and they were all super judgy and called them cannibals because maybe they used human sacrifice or flesh or whatever and whatever they were doing, while they routinely took medicines that were made from human bones, human blood, and human fat. Dead human bones, blood, and fat. Dead people.
Bleh. This is so
I
gross.
know. So during this time specifically, a lot of mummies were taken from Egypt and broken down into powder. But also, this one was interesting. They took a lot of skulls from Ireland. And I was like, why?
That's
Why
weird.
Ireland? I mean, the Fae are in Ireland, of course. So like maybe it's that magicalness of Ireland.
Maybe.
And if you were gonna be a grave digger, this was the time, or a grave. I'm not a grave digger, a grave robber.
Grave robber.
This was the time to do it because they had a fun old time selling those body parts.
Ugh.
So,
no thanks.
hey Claire, are you concerned about internal bleeding? Like maybe you were in an accident, some internal bleeding happening. It can kill you, right?
Yeah.
You know what you need? You need a nice tincture of ground mummy. You're just gonna drink it, and it's gonna just like
absolutely not
fix y'all up, man.
No, that's what?
Do you have a headache?
No.
Does your head hurt? Do you have migraines or maybe like some like brain damage or something? The best way to fix that, Claire, is to take some human skull, grind it into powder, and then mix it with chocolate. And you're going to drink that.
What?
You're going to drink that. It's going to be good. Because, you know, obviously your head hurts, so you just need pieces of someone else's head to fix it.
Yeah, okay. This sounds like a really bad CSI episode, is what this sounds like.
Uh-huh.
I mean, legit.
But, I mean, maybe your inside body is fine, but maybe you have like a wound. Like it's kind of gross, and you're like, ugh, I need to deal with this wound. What are you going to do?
Put a Band-Aid on it.
No, that's not going to do anything for you. What you're going to do is you're going to soak a bandage in human body fat and then use that to wrap around your wound.
Because, you know, I just have a jar of human body fat chilling in my fridge.
Of course you do. Everybody does, Claire.
Do they?
Yes. It's very normal.
Yes, apparently.
And apparently, you can also use that human fat that you got chilling. You can rub it into like your joints to help cure gout. It's a good treatment. It just makes all that gout pain go away. I'm telling you. Human fat.
I bet you this just sounds like this is like straight out of like Jeffrey Dahmer's like cookbook or something. I don't know. This is
all like Smithsonian documented for real.
Yeah, like I know.
Like, okay, people. But let's get back to our blood. We love blood. Blood is good.
Mhm.
So blood, of course, holds the vitality of life. Like it holds all of the things that keep you alive and make you, fill you with vigor. It's the blood, of course. But I mean, you don't want any old blood. You want like the freshest blood that you can find, because that's the longer the blood sits out, the longer the vitality has to seep out of it. It's not as strong. You want super fresh blood, because physicians in this
Mhm.
time believed that blood was super good for drinking. By the way,
Ugh.
well, to me, I'm like, okay, let's just put aside the fact that it's blood, okay?
Mhm.
I feel like there is a thickness to blood that makes me not want to drink that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I don't even, okay, guys, I don't like yogurt. I don't like pudding because it's thick in a weird way in my mouth, and I don't like that. I don't think blood is my good choice for me.
I mean, this stuff is thicker than, like, whole milk. No thanks.
Right.
Bleh.
Most people did not have the finances to be able to go to like the local apothecary and get some nice fresh blood to drink to feel better, to cure their ailments.
Yeah.
That's blood's expensive, man, because you got to have like the good stuff, like
Mhm.
fresh, or
Right, yeah.
else what are you doing? So they would pay executioners in order to get a small cup of the still warm blood from those who had been executed.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. So
Wow.
apparently, in Germany specifically, executioners were considered like big healers. Like they were sort of like
Because
doctors,
they had the
because
dead they had the dead
they had the
bodies.
blood, the dead bodies, all the bits. So even though they were like social lepers, because again, they're executioners, they're surrounded by death. So you don't
Right.
want to be like besties with the executioner. You don't want to like hang out.
Right.
You maybe want to walk on the other side of the street when you see him coming down. Like, it's cool. But he did have almost magical powers because he had the access to the good stuff. You know, the blood of the people whose heads he'd cut off or whatever.
Bleh. Right.
But I mean,
No thanks.
maybe you're like me and you're not super into drinking fresh blood after it's been like dripped out of the neck wound of a dead guy. Maybe that's not your jam, so to speak. That's okay,
Yeah.
because the Franciscans in 1679 created a recipe to make a nice marmalade with it. So you can just smear it on your morning toast.
But a marmalade?
Hmm.
What?
Yummy.
Ugh, people are so gross.
They are. They are. Um, but of course, not all blood is created equal. The
No,
best
no, it's
blood is
not.
going to come from young men, but the even bestest blood is going to come from what, Claire?
Babies.
Virginal women.
Ah, okay. I was like, where are we going with this?
Got to get those virgins in somewhere, man.
Gosh.
But I mean,
I was like, babies?
I mean, it's all weird. Like to me, I'm like, this is gross. This is disgusting, and ugh, I can't believe people drink blood to feel better or whatever. It sounds
Right.
horrific, but it really, it was in the article. It was kind of explained. It really wasn't that different for a lot of people, because a lot of them were Catholics and they believed that the wine that they took in communion turned into the blood of Jesus. Like they were drinking his blood.
Right.
So they're like, it's the same. And like it's
Yeah.
not the same. Not the
No,
same.
it's not.
Not even
Nope.
close to the same. So
Nope.
cool. 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 Okay. to go back. So that was blood. But there's of course lots of other kind of corpse medicines out there. It's not just blood.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just fat. We talked
Mm-hmm.
about human skulls being crumbled. I mean, it was such corpse medicine was such a prominent thing that rulers used it as well. So like King Charles II, whom you might remember from my previous story about the two princes. He was the one that tore
Uh-huh.
down the tower and found the bones and interred them
Mm-hmm.
into wherever. He actually took a restorative brew that he called the King's Drops that was made of like
Drops?
drops. Like drops
Yeah,
of
okay, that's what making sure you said drops. Okay.
it's the King's Drops. And it was made
Okay.
from crumbled human skull and alcohol, which I guess the alcohol probably helps it go down better.
Probably. Why would you want to ruin the alcohol by putting the skull in there? That's
I
disgusting.
mean, I'm here for that judgment because it's all fairly foul.
I know.
But
Like doing this, like looking up stuff makes me I'm just like, how has the human race survived as long as we have? That's what I
I
want to
know, like,
know.
Lord, we have survived all of this ridiculousness.
We've done so many dumb things. It's just like, oh my gosh.
Ugh. I
I mean, even now, like 20 years from now, they'll be like, what were they smoking back then? Like, why did they do XYZ? That was so
well,
stupid,
I'm waiting for the when we finally figure out cancer and like you were radiating people. What the hell? You were
Right.
pumping them full of
Right.
what?
Yeah.
Like, of course it helped kill the cancer because it was also killing them too.
Killing,
Good God.
killing everything else. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know, barbaric. It's barbaric.
Yeah, it is.
So, corpse medicine as a practice kind of dwindled in the 18th century, which, by the way, is around the time that Europeans began regularly using things like forks when they ate instead of their
Ah.
fingers. And also when they started using soap when they took a bath. So it's like
Ah.
hygiene. Huh. Huh.
Like, what a novel idea.
I will say that in 1847, an Englishman was advised to mix the skull of a young woman with treacle, which is sort of like molasses, the
Uh-huh.
British thing,
Right, right.
and feed it to his daughter to cure her epilepsy.
Ugh.
Spoiler: he did it. It didn't work. Shock.
Right.
Shock. There's also a belief that lasted until the late 1800s that a magical candle made from human fat, which is called a thieves' candle, could stupefy and paralyze a person.
Mm. This reminds me of like the candle from Hocus
Right? It's like,
Pocus. Like, it's the black flame candle.
let's see. A mummy was sold as medicine in a German medical catalog as late as the beginning of the 20th century, which is,
Wow.
1900s.
Right, yeah.
And this is disturbing. 1908, which is just a little over 100 years ago at this point, is the last known attempt that was made in Germany to swallow blood at the scaffold. So, like with the executioner giving blood to people.
Wow.
So,
1908?
1908. That is too close for
Wow.
comfort.
No, thank you. Ugh. That sounds awful.
So, this is an honorable mention of corpse medicine because it's not really ingesting.
Right.
The ancient Babylonians, they believed that most illnesses were the result of demonic forces, or it was
Oh.
punishment by the gods for past misdeeds. So fair.
I mean, yeah.
So if a person was grinding their teeth like in their sleep,
Uh-huh.
their doctor
Mm.
would
Yeah.
suspect that the ghost of a deceased family member was trying to contact them in their sleep. Of course. Of course. What else could it be?
Okay.
So, according
Right.
to the ancient necromantic texts,
Necromantic.
the doctor would recommend sleeping by a human skull for a week to exorcise the spirit. To ensure that this treatment, I guess, worked.
I mean, any human skull, is that what we're
It
going
seems like
for? I
it, yeah.
mean,
The treatment, to ensure that it worked, they were instructed to kiss and lick the skull 7 times each night.
that seems dumb. That seems really stupid.
And I'm like, I feel like that would give me more nightmares. That would make me grind my teeth.
Right. You're just like, no thanks. No. No thanks.
Okay. My last, this will probably kill you.
Okay.
The Wandering Womb.
Womb,
Mhm.
like
Like
WOMB.
WOMB, womb.
Wandering
The Wandering
womb.
Womb.
Okay.
Ancient Greek doctors believed a woman's womb was a separate entity with its own mind.
What? Ew.
They often described it as a living animal eager to bear children, which gross.
No.
So here's the thing. When a woman was celibate for an extended amount of time, her uterus would dislodge and glide freely about her body.
No.
Which, causes problems because there's not a whole lot of space in there. So it could
Right.
cause suffocation, it could cause
Yeah.
seizures, and of course, the worst of all things, Claire, it could cause hysteria.
Oh no, not
hysteria.
No. So that is the worst.
So to prevent this, of course, women were encouraged to marry young and to bear as many children as possible, which is disgusting.
Which of course they were. That's great.
But sometimes the womb must wonder. And if it did happen, doctors would prescribe therapeutic baths, which sounds fine. I like a good bath. But also physical massages to force the womb back into position, which sounds super uncomfortable.
Right. That's just like, no thanks.
Or they might, quote unquote, fumigate the patient's the patient's head with sulfur and pitch while simultaneously rubbing pleasant smelling lotions between their thighs so that the womb would flee from the bad smells up here and go back to its rightful place down there.
You thought your womb went up to your brain? That's so...
It moved around. It's wandering, Claire. It's just wandering. It's wandering.
Oh my gosh.
But I was like, the womb can smell?
Yeah, like...
It can be like, oh, I don't like this sulfur. Oh, but there's some nice lotions down here. Let me wander back down. What the fuck?
It's so weird.
Such a...
That is... That's worse than bloodletting. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's like one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard.
Well, and it's...
I swear.
like a lot of this is like ancient Greece, but then it's like...
I get that,
but no, it gets worse. Because then it's like, they still believed this even after hundreds of years later or whatever, they learned that the uterus is held in place by ligaments and can't wander. Like, people still believe this shit. So, like, even in like the 1600s, I think this was still ridiculous bullshit. So, a guy named Edward Jordan wrote a book called The Suffocation of the Mother.
Ooh.
In which he used hysteria as an explanation for mysterious medical occurrences in young women. Gross.
Right.
And that the hysteria was called by the wandering of the womb around the body, which not only causes bad medical things to happen to you, Claire, but also, are you ready for it?
Yeah.
The source of witchcraft.
Of course it is. Of course it
And
is.
so Edward Jordan, the giant fucking asshat that he is, douche canoe extraordinaire, often presided in witchcraft-related trials as an expert on the subject.
Of course he did.
And he said that the phenomenon of hysteria was apparent in actions such as singing, laughing, crying,
What?
and choking. So if you sing, you laugh, or you cry, or maybe you get choked up on something, you're hysterical and you're a witch and you must be burned at the stake.
Wow.
So that lasted much longer, even though they knew that the womb couldn't wonder at that point. It's attached.
Right. I mean, I feel like I do all those things a lot.
Well, I sing, laugh, and cry often in the same day. Choke even. All
I
all
mean,
four in the
right?
same day. I'm a witch. I told you I was burned at the stake in a previous life. Inevitable.
It's true.
But Lordy Jesus.
Wow.
So that was my final. This will probably kill you. Because let's be real, if your womb is wondering you're a witch, you're going down. You're not going to survive that. Sorry,
That's
guys.
true.
I mean, sorry, only women, because it's only ever women.
Right.
I loved the idea that the womb was a separate entity. It's like an animal within an animal is kind of like how they describe it. Like, it's an animal within an animal. I'm like, one, I don't think I'm technically an animal, but like not an animal. And also my womb is not a sentient being.
Right. Right.
Ugh, gross. So those are just some of the things that we used to do that killed lots of people, all in the name of medicine. Yay.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Wait.
Well, that was excellent.
Thank you.
Also, shout out to Ellen for giving us that topic.
Yes, Ellen. This was fun. Like, and there were a million more. Like, I could go on forever and ever and ever. I limited it to these 3 this time, but
yeah, I think we're gonna leave that one on the wheel because
there's
there's some others we can cover.
And there's so many.
I know, right? I was overwhelmed. I was like, I don't know what to pick.
Well, there's one just random. Apparently, if you are, again, only a female, only women, if you have genital ulcers or warts or sores or whatever, the way to fix that is to rub python bile on them. And I was like, who did that first?
I know, who was the first person to be like, I'm gonna try this. Where do you, I mean, python bile, like, who the hell? You just go, I'm just gonna go to the woods and pick up a python.
Right?
Like, what?
Oh, God. Ugh.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, well, at least they're just rubbing it on and not like ingesting that.
Right.
But I was like, what about male genital ulcers? They get them too. I don't understand. It's weird. It's very weird. It's weird.
Man, that's nuts. It is. I'm just like, how did we as a species survive as long as we have? That's what
dumb luck is what you're looking for. Sheer dumb luck.
Really?
Because, like, God.
It's true. It's true. All right.
Guess that means that it is time for
that time.
Tarot time.
Tarot time with April.
Spooky. My headphones are attached. Okay. Tell me when to stop. Okay. Here we go. A shuffling among the leaves so green. Here we come, a shuffling. No swords to be seen, please.
Right.
Love and joy come to us before we hit Christmas.
Stop.
Like, I don't know what I'm doing. It's like, I'm singing a Christmas song. Oh, they're in Christmas. I don't know. By the time this comes out, we'll be uncomfortably close to Christmas.
I know.
At this point, we're already uncomfortably close to Christmas.
I know.
So, all right, ready? Oh, do you want to do where I do 3 piles and take from the top, or just take all 3 from the top?
Do the 3 piles.
All right.
Let's do that. Let's do it a little differently.
Here we go. What will our
All
week
right.
bring? We have, I can't read upside down, the 8 of Wands.
Ooh, 8.
We have the Fool.
We've not had that one.
And we have the Page of Wands.
It's a wandy.
It's very wandy. When foolish wands. Foolish mortals. Blah, 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 blah.
I watched that.
8? 8 of Wands.
8 of Wands.
Okay. The 8 of Wands catches the moment of release that feels like spring to me. There's so much potential surrounding that time of year. Isn't that nice?
That is nice.
I don't want to read that. Let's see. I used to say overwhelming choices when I saw this card, but I think I was off a bit. The 8 of Wands is about choices, yes, but instead of too many choices, it's about being aware of the paths that you can take. You can do anything. You can go anywhere. You can succeed and fail and discover and laugh and sob and grow and fall down and then be committed for having hysteria and then die by being burned as a witch. Just saying. These are all possible. And it's glorious, really, if you sit and think about it. So that's nice.
It's the reading rainbow card.
When this card comes up in a reading, it's about moving quickly toward a goal. Clarity, speed, and good intent come with this card. I need all of those things right now.
Right.
Like, hardcore need all of those things.
Right.
All right. The Fool.
It was when you were like, you can be anything. In my head, I was like, I can be anything. Take a look. It's in a book.
The Reading Rainbow.
So I was like, it's the Reading Rainbow card.
The Fool.
Yes, do it.
If you look at the Fool, you'll see he's surrounded by a clear blue sky, the bright shining sun, and his little doggy pal. Does he have a dog in this one? Nope.
Okay.
That's fine. A jaunty feather in his cap. I don't think he has it on either, but whatever. And a smile on his lips. He is smiling. He's having a good time. He is surrounded by majesty and beauty, and yet he's paying attention to nothing. As you can see, he's trying to walk off the cliff in that card.
Okay.
Oh, in fact, he is in fact about to walk off the bloody cliff. I don't see this as a tragic card. I love the Fool. Walking along, exploring and curious, and after you smack into that brick wall, walking away having learned. I can't help but think that the drop that he's about to have isn't that far at all. That after his fall, he'll stand up and grin. I'm like, cool. Let's see. Historically, the Fool is the only person the king will listen to. The jester is a beloved character. It's important. Let's see. The Fool has no agenda, no hidden plans or shenanigans up his sleeve. He is guileless, he's honest, and he's genuinely happy. He's the one who told the emperor that he was naked. That's a good story.
Nice.
He's going to move forward to say what's on his mind. He's going to be honest and forthright, regardless of the circumstance. In every deck, the Fool is in a precarious position. Think of all the idioms we have for taking chances. Going out on a limb, break a leg, going for broke. These all sound really painful, but what they're about is deciding that being still is not for you. When you see this in the reading, you know it's time to jump. That's cool. I like that. Claire's time to jump. Jump, Claire, jump!
Is it?
Well, I mean, in 2 weeks, when this is our reading, it is time to jump in 2 weeks. So you have 2 weeks to prepare for your jump. Do you understand? That's all you got.
Gotcha.
This is cool. We've had like a pip card, and we've had a major arcana card, and now we have a court card. So that's fun. One of each.
Yeah.
All right, Page of Wands. Let's round it out. Da 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 da. Okay. Oh, we've had him before. I remember him.
I think I sort of say I remember him. We've not had the Fool, but we've had this one.
So
Yeah.
earnest, this kid. So earnest, present, childlike, full of piss and vinegar, as my grandma would say. He is about opportunity, adventure, and hope. He's an optimist and a poet, a dreamer and an inventor, an artist and a fiery lover. The Page of Wands is confident, is honest to a fault, is passionate, and will bring you with him. The charisma most often comes across in readings. You believe this guy and get excited about whatever he's excited about. So
Nice.
cool.
It's not
I would say this is all like opportunities and going and taking a jump and all the good happy things. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Finally.
Let's do it. In 2 weeks for us. It's this week for you guys when you hear this, but we're trying to bank a couple, just for our own health and sanity.
Yes.
So how exciting! This is a really good and related and consistent read. I like that.
Right.
So Claire,
yes.
What topic will we be doing after we have taken the leap, the jump, and we're ready?
Right.
What is going to be on our wheel of
fate?
Spinny, 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 spinny. It's gonna be something fun.
Spooky, spooky again.
Spooky, spooky. I love spooky, spooky. I live my life in spooky, spooky. Let's be real. That's all I have.
Great. Spooky, spooky again.
So come back as we scare the crap out of ourselves yet again.
Right.
With some new spooky, spooky stories. So until then, you can find us on all the things and all the places at
Brunch and Judge.
And please follow, like, subscribe, comment, do all the fun things because it helps. Every little bit helps. And you can send us more topics for our wheel or any stories you'd like us to cover to
brunchandjudge@gmail.com.
Yay. Okay. So until next time for our spooky, spooky stories, keep on brunching.
And keep on judging.
Bye.
Bye.
Brunch and Judge. Brunch and Judge. We brunch and judge everything and give you opinions that nobody asked for.